Good day everyone, I am Christopher B. Opler from BSN 1A, and today we will be discussing about the endo and the ethical aspects of economy using Tina's case as an example. So, let's begin with her story. Tina has worked in many different jobs as a fast food crew member, a sales lady, a promo girl, an event staff, and even a cashier. But despite her hard work and years of experiences, she still doesn't have a permanent job or a stable job. And why do you think she still doesn't have a permanent job? It is because of the practice known as endo, or basically known as the end of contract. Under endo, companies end the contract of employees after 5 months to avoid the 6 months probationary rule under the labor code. By doing this, the companies avoid giving workers benefits such as the security of tenure, health insurance, and other labor rights stated in the labor code. This practice affects over 1 million workers, which is around 29.9% of the entire workforce. So imagine working hard but never being given the chance to have a stable income or long-term security. So it's hard. So now let's move on to the perspective of endo. There are different views when it comes to endo. We have here the anti-endo, pro-endo, and the moderates. The anti-endo groups, such as labor groups and workers' unions, believe that endo is a form of injustice. They say that it robs workers of their rights, job security, and dignity. They call for a total ban on endo as part of the social injustice. Next, we have is the pro-endo. Often from the business sector, it argues that a total ban would be economic suicide. They say many companies, especially small and medium enterprises, can afford regularization for all workers. It could lead to layoffs or even a business closures. Meanwhile, the moderates believe that the best solution is a balance, protecting workers' rights while also keeping the business sustainable. In 2017, the Department of Labor and Employment issued the Dolly Department Order number 174. This order bans unfair labor contracting but still allowing the legal form or legal contractual work. However, many labor groups criticize this order, calling it a watered-down reform because endo practices still continued in many industries. From an ethical perspective, endo raises serious concerns. It questions whether it's fair to treat workers as disposable just to save money. It highlights the conflict between profit and human dignity. A just economy should not only benefit business owners but also provide stable and decent work for employees. Ethics reminds us that behind every contract is a person like Tina who dreams of stability, security, and a better future. And to wrap this thing up, endo is more than just a labor issue. It's a moral and social issue. Ending endo is not just about changing policies, it's about valuing workers as people, not just as numbers. Finding the right balance between economic growth and social justice is the challenge for both the government and the business sector. And that is all. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Hermione Manghila and today we're talking about capitalism and commodification. So first of all, if you say capitalism, unsay words goes through your minds when you talk about capitalism? Diba? Product man, to make profit, money, diba, like business. Okay, because that's literally what capitalism is. It is an economic system. So it is what makes the economy go around. Okay, so let's say a businessman, or example ako, or really person makes a product that a lot of people, or maybe some people, or gamay ra jud nga people, basta like naay mo palit, naay mo consume sa product. That's what capitalism is. As what I've said before, people can start their own businesses to make their own money, and also this means that the prices are set by supply and demand. About mo sa supply and demand, the supply is like how much the product there is available, and the demand is how much or how many people are kanang demanding for that product to be like consumed, to be bought. So for example, review ta, for example, if gamay ra ang supply and then daghan kay demand, taas jud ang price. But if gamay ra ang demand and then daghan kayo og supply or product, then maubos jud ang price. So in capitalism, the impact of the system remains the same everywhere. So capitalism does not necessarily mean money, okay? Money imong ipalit, money imong i-barter, anana. But capitalism sa money, in capitalism common jud na ang money, but that does not mean nga ang money ra ang imuhang like goes around. But this is the most common type of item nga ang ato i-exchange for the products. And when you say remains the same everywhere, okay, so mo ingon kag kanang, so mo pa kag laing countries, manhik ka sa dili, manhik ka nang mo talk ka sa like, if you say or if you interviewed ka ng mga tribes nga sa ilaha was the concept of money, ilaha kay barter pa ilaha, not just the same jud na sila everywhere. Kay if let's say, if wala the concept of money, and then I am a fisherman, and then ganahan ko mukaon og meat, then muduol ko sa mga kanang hunters man ako nga, oh, kanang mukaon ko sa inyong meat, kanang ganahan mukaon sa akong fish, mag-exchange sali, tagaan ti kag 20 ka buok fish sa ako and then you're going to give me for let's say isa ka buok pig, so ako na makaon, and then what if ang pig is dako siya, and then ang isda nako kay gagmay kaayo, then mo na jud ang kanang katong hunter nga, ha, dili man na parehas kay dili man, this is not fair, right? Kay gamay ra ako makuha, gamay ra akong makaon sa muhang isda nga if wala na ko gi-exchange nimo, then okay ako kay like I would rather not exchange with you kay mas daghan ko makaon sa ako ang baboy kaysa sa mga isda. And then mga nasad ko nga, ay okay, kana ako 8 times 2 para ma-equal na to ang price, or ma-equal na to ang kuan, like dili na ka mo para parehas sa tag ka ng amount of kanon, or like para parehas sa tag ka ng yan ba, and then merge ma-equal na. So yes, mo na siya same jud na siya ang capitalism anywhere, money or not, okay? And then commodification is the consequence of capitalism. This happens when everything becomes a commodity, and then a commodity is something that can be purchased or consumed. So when you say commodification, money siya ang product. Under ni siya sa capitalism, ang commodification, this is the product itself. Mo ni siya ang i-exchange nimo sa other person by money or by barter nga na. Money siya ang commodification. This is the product itself. Commodities are the things being bought and sold inside that system. So ang commodification, pwede ni siya product, pwede ni siya supply, pwede ni siya services. Like for example, kanang teachers, or like kanang mga education, or let's say kanang mga sales ladies, call centers. There are what we call commodity. These are products or services that you can get through capitalism, through the money, through barter of things, okay? Through exchange of things. So mostly jud na kay money jud na sa majority of the time, money jud na siya ang exchange when it comes to capitalism and commodification. If you listen to the song Price Tag by Jessie J, dila nimo madunggan ni ba nga kanang everything has got a price, inangana kay everything really has a price. Products, services, as I have said before, na dyan na siya price. Kay kung example nga lavendera ko, dili mo ko mo do that for free because you're buying my time to wash your clothes. So you're buying my service to wash your clothes. So kailangan siya na ay price, na siya money nga i-exchange for my time, my service, so I could do something for you. Usually, ang commodification kay negative na ang effects niya, right? Kay ang market price or ang value of something, of a product or a service depends sa market price. Ang something negative about commodification, it is when the value of a product or a service is depending on the market price. Usually, nindot na siya usahay dili, but most of the time dili siya. Kaya, so let's say, ang katong bugas, atong local farmers, mas cheaper man jud siya kaysa sa imported na bugas, right? So, mana siya, and then, you could say that it's a stereotype, but for me, if mo ka nga, oh, kanang nga bugas, eh, it is much more cheaper than kani nga bugas na kanang imported siya sa gawas. And then I'm gonna think ka, ay, since cheaper na siya, then daghan siya na siya o kanang supply, di ba? Supply and demand. Daghan siya na siya supply. That means there are a lot of people that are not buying this product. That means that this product, this rice is cheaper. That means this product is not kanang worth it. Quality ba is not good compared sa imported nga rice, di ba? So, muna siya nga ang market price maka-affect siya sa value or ang value depends sa market price. Okay? If ang value mo depends sa market price, kato ni siya na kanang ay dili ko ganahan sa iyang rice, dili ko ganahan sa local rice kay it's cheap, it kanang dili siya lami, di ba? So, value niya ubos. And the market price niya ubos kay since bati man yung value, ubos jud siya. And then, if gamay ang value sad, gamay rasad ang mupalit ana. And then, if taas gali ang value, then, I'm gonna think, ay, high premium ni siya, high quality jud ni siya nga product, diba? So, it's going to be much more expensive. Kaya, if I, a person with money, I have enough money to buy this premium product, then I'm gonna buy this premium product. Kaya, it's premium, it's high quality, right? And, maka-expand ko enough money to buy this certain product no matter how the market price is. Kaninot man siya ang value. So, I'm gonna spend money. So, malls are the hollowed halls of consumerist culture. Diba? If you say malls, you're going to think expensive. Diba? Think of SMC side, Ayala, or even kanang new stores na like mga big names na malls, right? You're going to think, oh, it's going to be so premium there, kanang sikat siya, kanang ingana. And then, if you, especially, right, if you have enough money, and then maglaglaga sa malls, and then like, oh, nito lagi na, I'm gonna buy that bag, oh, nito lagi ng shoes, I'm gonna buy those shoes, diba? And most of the time sa malls, ilan ang ipa-increase ang price sa ilahang products compared sa storage house or sa kanang original nga place jud ba nga ilang gitinda kay they're paying for the place, for the mall, right? Para makatinda sila dira. And then most of the time if nasa mall gitinda ang things, then daghan ang mapalit ana kay malls are very convenient, right? Malls are very they look expensive. They're very sikat, they're trendy, di ba? So, if dito ka sa malls, then like, muna siya nindot siya tanawon sa imong mata. And then, most of the times, if naka sa malls, you're going to buy at least one thing, right? So, mo na, if you place your products sa malls, it's very advantageous kaysa kanang different places sa mga imuhang warehouse or mall ni imuhang tindahan diri. And then, no matter how premium it is, most of the time, gamay lang mapalit dira. Especially, kanagaling mga places na dili kayo sikat. So, mana siya. Consumerist culture. Daghan kayo na sa malls. Consumerist culture. So, additionally, daghan kayong ato sa malls, right? Daghan sila mo ato to kaon, to laag, to spend time with their families, to experience this, experience that. And most of the things I have said comes with a price. Most of the time, money. Kung kaon ka ani, nakaypaliton. Diba? Mukhang ka ni, kailangan ka mapalit, kailangan ka magbayad. Ganahan ka mag-skating, kailangan ka mabayad. Kaya, you're buying something man, you're buying their services, you're buying, like, kanang, or sabi, Peter said, you're renting the, kanang, skating shoes, or, basta, like the shoes. You're paying for the services na ilahang gi-provide to maintain the skating rink. And you're paying for the price nga ilahang gi use to keep that place afloat. So kailangan jud na price i-pay. No matter how expensive it is or like how cheap it is, na jud kay price i-pay. So when you think about kanang mga big malls, so when you think about big malls, it usually is a trap. But does that stop us? Of course not. Kay dito man siya nga place nga atuan, it's very convenient for us if mula ta dito kaysa sa kaning place diri and then mabalhin pa sa ta diri kay nadira atong ganahan and then mabalhin ta diri kay mga unta diri, di ba? So di ba ang commodification is something that can be purchased or consumed. Unsa man atong i-purchase, unsa man atong thing na atong igamit to purchase or consume? Money, right? So that's why sa ang commodification, the richer you are, the more power you have over people or over something or over a conflict or over any situation. Basta the richer you are, the more powerful you are. Kay maka-influence in a lot of things. Diba? Maka-influence ka, example, kanang bribes, you're going to bribe someone to do this, to do that, and you're going to pay them. You're going to bribe anyone, and then you're going to exchange what they did sa like kanang kuan, like pagkaon. Even kanang kuan nga, kanang mga when it comes to friends, kanang na sila nga, uy, kanang hibaw akong assignment B, tagaan ka kwarta, or kundi librahan ka. That's kuan, commodification, or like sampati nga side sa commodification. Ang ako ang time as your friend, like ini nga bang tingnan ka nga, kanang himuon ko sa mga assignment B, librahan ka. Ako ang time, imuhang gipalit to do your assignment. Ako ang service to do your assignment, imuhang gipalit. So commodification na siya, or capitalism. Yeah, especially, kato ko agali nga, when you have money, you're strong, or like you have power. And then the thing with commodification is, as I've said before, even though there are a lot of things na imong i-barter, kay kanang usually money jud na ang like kanang ang the only thing nga makita as like a valuable thing to exchange for your time, to exchange for the product. So muna siya nga ihang make it seem like the money is the only main and the only kanang thing that can be valuable. In a world where kanang sige kag consume, sige kag kanang palit, it is not surprising if consumption is the predominant interest for everyone, right? If you're going to live and then wala kay pagkaon, so you're gonna consume something. You're going to consume food, you're going to consume water, and then dili lang sad kanang magkaon ako, I need to consume water to kanang wash myself, I need to consume money to buy clothes, I need to consume a place to build my house so I could be safe. I need to consume kanang education so I could be literate. I need to consume education so I could be literate enough to have a job, to have kanang sustainable job, to have a job that pays enough or that pays well so I could live a life, so I could live comfortably. And then if I live comfortably, then I am able to buy something or buy the things that I want and I liked. Okay, so it's never really going to end. Kay every day, even as you breathe, you're consuming air. But if though you're consuming air, wala man ka nabayad. Pero like every day you consume something, and in exchange for that, you're paying because you're consuming something. And then manganak man jud ta mo kuan, like although tanan nato kay it's enough for us na nga kanang kanang I'm satisfied with my life na nga. But nanganak man ta and atong anak kay they're going to carry on that consumerist lifestyle because you can't live if you can't consume, diba? So mo to siya, diba, kung giun nga you need to consume to live. Mo na siya ang main ethical issue. Kay instead of living our life to the fullest, instead of praying to God, instead of giving your life to God, what you're really doing is you're dependent on what can be bought, right? So instead of fulfilling your human potential, you're kanang magdepend ka sa unsa imong gipalit, sa unsa imong gi-invest, diba? Like instead of kanang going to church, you're going to study because kay namitas ugma, kay ang kaning test kay makapasal ko ani, and then makagraduate ko sa ako ang makagraduate ko for college, and then after college kay makatrabaho ko, and then after makatrabaho ko I'm going to build a house, and after nako build a house nako family, then nako family kanang I've achieved kanang like ay malipay ko, but natumo ko na naigan mo ko sa uban no, oh nindot ang ilang family kay naglaglaag sila, di ba, it's never ending. So instead, so mana siya kanang mana ang ethical issue sa kanang when it comes to consumerist, kay instead of fulfilling your full potential, instead of fulfilling your role to the church, instead of fulfilling kanang instead of following God, ikaw nag-follow na ka sa imuhang lifestyle, and your lifestyle is dependent on what you consume. So mana siya like magbalik-balik siya ang cycle. So that's why mana bati sometimes ang overconsumption, usay mo bati ang capitalism or commodification, but it dili siya rubagtang, right? Because capitalism is the economic system. It is what turns our lives around, diba? If capitalism is not here, then maglisod ta og live, maglisod ta og kanang do the things we want, diba? So it's really a complex but interdependent kanang kuan, interdependent things, diba? Interdependent sila sa tuwa. So the only thing, the best thing you can do is not let commodification or consumerism take over your life. Philippines or any country really, as I've said before, kanang education is also commodification. Kaya you're paying the time, you're paying the service of the teachers so that you could learn. You're paying the school so that you have the best facility so you could learn well. You're paying the organization so that they could prepare you for a better future. And by better future means kanang nindot ko o kanang I have enough skills that the place or like kanang okay, so that I have enough skills so that I could have a better job. I could have a job that pays well, so that nindot akong lifestyle, nindot akong life. So mana siya. But the thing is, the business is something that dictates what the school or what the universities wants us to be, diba? Kay when you think about it, sad on universities or on schools, kay their business na sila. Kay money goes around man, so business na siya. Nasa capitalism, nasa commodification. So ang kuan sad. Okay, balik ka. So ang business, especially sa Philippines, they're training or they're like dictating this school to teach this or that, to have these skills so that they would be fit sa amuang company, diba? If they fit sa among company, then ang among company munindot mudako ang value. If mudako ang value, mudako ang market price, diba? So na siya. If musunod ka sa kanang dictate, if musunod ka sa what the business dictates, then instead of us being able to fulfill our kanang fullest potential, then mura na siya training facilities for the business instead of us at kanang learning for knowledge, instead of us kanang achieving or knowing for kanang knowing ko ba, or so that I could be literate. If you ask me, really, if you really ask me, and I'm going to answer you honestly, then I'm going to say, if you ask me na kanang why are you kanang nagklase ka, kanang eskwela ka, kanang naka sa nursing, then I'm just going to say, oh, because I want to help other people. But if you really ask me, if you ask me and I'm going to answer honestly, then I'm going to say, ay, nilot mo kanang kwarta, ay, nilot mo good og sweldo ang nurse. So, mo na siya, niya makatupad ko sa gawas, diba? Niya, if mato ko sa gawas, then dako og sweldo. So, if dako og sweldo, then I'm going to live a comfortable life. Diba? Na-instill na lang sa akong mind, and I'm not going to deny it because it's true. Kay, the school nowadays, it's teaching us the skills to be suitable for that job instead of the skills so that we would learn for fun, we would learn for ourselves, we would learn for things na dili na to ma-learn sa outside world. Kay education is education. And then we would learn to be our fullest, we would learn to be in our fullest potential. In summary, capitalism is economic system na maka-impact ni siya or maka-affect siya sa atong lifestyle. And then, it remains the same as everywhere. It remains the same everywhere. Because an economy can't live without capitalism. And then, ang capitalism or can't go on without commodification. And commodification, this is something or a service that can be purchased or consumed. So man siya. And then, too much commodification, kanang bati na siya for the community, bati na for yourself. Because you're dictating, or commodification, or consumerist thinking, or consumerist culture ruins our lives. Okay? So, pwede na tama ko an but not enough to take over our lives. We need to balance our lives, diba? We need to balance our consumerist and our lifestyle, ang commodification and capitalism. So today we're going to talk about the ethical aspect of economy. So first of all, let's talk about contractualization. This means this is the result in. So contractualization results in endo, and it is a huge part of the capitalist. And this is the huge part. So contractualization, this results in endo, and it is a huge part of the capitalist economy. So from the word contract, dira siya kanakaling mga workers, if they were to work in a company or if they were to work under someone, nadyan na sila contract, so that they could kanang nagasinabot sila sa unsay bayad, sa unsay pay, sa pila ka hours of work, ingana, so that ang ilang job, it would be legal, right? So that na if there were any complications, dira sila mabase sa contract. Kay official man na ang contract, you could change it later, but like dira ang contract, this is what kanang makes your like business official. Pwede sa service or sa job itself. Basta like kuan siya, kanang part siya sa capitalist economy man siya. Part siya sa economy and part siya sa capitalism, which we'll talk about later. So, the problem or ang ethical problem when it comes to the economy, ang mo nang gitanaw ni Karl Marx. Yan na siya nga nowadays, especially from the age of industrialization, yan na si Karl Marx nga kanang this dehumanize. Okay, so niya na si Karl Marx na na-dehumanizing effect ang capitalism. Why? Well, capitalism is, unsa lang ng capitalism, mo talk about na in the next, mo talk na later, but capitalism in simple terms is kana siyang business, right? Kanang profit, kanang supply and demand. So that means if you only think about capitalism and you won't think about human lives or mga workers, then kanang you'd only think about the profit, then daghan juga is set aside, especially sa ethical considerations when it comes to humans, right? So kanang, for example, cutting off expenses, kanang imong kanang i-let go ang kaninga tao kay like they're not kanang contributing enough for your companies. Ingana ba? You're kanang only thinking for your business. Okay, well, pwede siya mo think about sa mga workers or sa mga customers, but kanang kuan, well, capitalism only focuses man jud sa products itself, okay? Kay if you say kanang mo consider siya sa kuan sa mga workers, then that's a good thing too, but ang main jud na focus sa capitalism is the profit itself. Kay mamana ang kanang economic system, it's the system itself. It's not about thinking what would happen to this, what would happen to her, what would happen to him. Okay? It's the system man. Okay? So, anya na sa si Karl Marx nga ang age of industrialization devalues human work and displaces them for work. So, unsa din ang age of industrialization? So, age of industrialization, this kanang kuan installs the machines so that mahimo siyang faster, more efficient, cheaper cost, and a lot of greater output volume. So, ang problem ani, though you would say the age of industrialization is very nice, di ba, makapaspas siya, and kanang if you need something, if kanang object, if you want to buy this object, then dali ra ka makapalit. Atas cheaper pa jud kay gamay raman ang kuan, gamay raman ang kanang like sibihans nga gahimuan na. So that means nga dili kayo taas ang bayad, right? It's supposed to be a good thing for everyone, but the problem is ang naka-affect ani kay ang workers, as Karl Marx had said, would devalue siya sa human work. Kay kanang, let's say, kanang sorting of kanang products. Example, na ako apples, and I have a lot of apples. That means, if wala pa ko nilisod sa age of industrialization, that means na sa go workers. Mo sila mo kanang pitas, or like mukuha sa apple from the tree, mag-sort sila if kanang rotten ba ni siya or fresh ba ni siya, mo-sort siya nga and then mo-package sila, mo deliver sila dito. So if mo go through ko sa age of industrialization, then kanang I could buy a machine, or I could make a machine that would make those process neatly and faster. So, let's say, kanang na ako'y machine nga kanang makapita sa mga apples, and then sa katong mga nipita sa apples o mga nikuha sa apples, then mawag nga sila job. So, mula na sila nga job for, let's say nga sila sorting, then nakahimo naman sa kog kanang through industrialization, nakahimo naman sa kog machine for the sorting. So, mauto sila sa packaging, and then nasa good packaging nga kuan. So, daghan na kay sila na displace, right, from their original job na sige sila pasa-pasa, but since na may like alternative or na may like kanang nilain ni puli nila, then sige sila kanang pasa-pasa, sige sila displace sa ilang job. And then most of the time kay since daghan naman kaayo sila, di ba, from the picking of the fruit, from the sorting, from the packaging, since daghan naman kaayo sila, nasad koy kanang pahawaon, right? Cost cutting man sad kay nagunon naman. So I'm taking business. Okay, I'm taking business. So mag cost cutting jud ko kay if I'm going to consider about their feelings, I'm going to consider about like kanang if ethical ba siya or dili, then kanang puloy ko kay na naman ko yung machines nga nag-work sa ilang jobs, and then I'm still assisting them even though nga wala na sila ka nagibugar para nako. So mo na siya nga though at first I appreciated the work, I appreciated nga kanang sila ni pita, sila ni package, nga kanang pagsud sa machine, kanang ako nanan may machine, na pa man sila, ako lang ni buhion. So man sila maka-devalue sila sa human work. Okay, since na may easier way out. So normally that's what you'd think jud. Okay, it's kuan man jud, it's normal to think of something nga kanang of the easier way out man jud siya. And then it is really the best kuan jud kay mas makapunoy man jud siya if daghan tika gigasto, right? So mana siya. And then Karl Marx summarizes all of this in one word: alienation. So alienation, or if you mutanong sa book, it's called Alienated Labor. Ang essay na kanang gi-publish ni Karl Marx pag 1844 sa iyang book Economic and Philosophic Manuscripts. Mao ni siya ang katungkuan, like like kanang dehumanizing kanang labor. Mao ni siya ang kanang devaluing ang katungkuan, like human labor. So ang sa iyaha, okay, sa iyang book or sa iyang essay, so nana siya nga the human person is a species being. What does this mean? So, ang iyang pasabot is that a human person kay sila the moment that they make something, then they are a part of that something. Right? So before to sa alienation, mao na sa tanga, asa man siya gikan sa theories, asa sigikan o kanang like support sa backups. Gikan ni siya sa G.W.F. Hegel and Ludwig Feuerbach. Stop. Nya sa iyang nagkuha ni Hegel, ang iyang nakuha ni Hegel kay ang theory of dialectics. Dialectics. We suggest that the contact of one thing or thesis with another different entity, antithesis, will eventually produce a new reality, synthesis. Nya, kanang, so ang pasabot ani kay if kanang, so if pasabot ani example, for example, mo touch ko sa kaninga, so except for example, the contact of one thing, I am that one thing, so I am the thesis. With the other thing is the antithesis, then it's going to become synthesis, or like it's going to become a new reality. So instead of like, di ba, ako person, I am the thesis, I am the one thing, I'm the contacting the other thing. The other thing is the antithesis. So if mo contact ko, nagkakuan na to nga, instead of ako, I am a person, and this is the wall, then i-contact man ko sa wall, then I am touching the wall, diba? Instead of I am just standing nearby the wall, since the contact man ko, I am now touching the wall. I have created a new reality, and this new reality is synthesis. And then, diba, si Hegel man to siya sa ang theory of dialectics. Si Hegel man to sa ang theory of dialectics. Sa ni Feuerbach, he learned that the human person becomes the individual the one wants as a result of interaction with the environment, which includes the social, political, and economic aspects. So this means that nga ang person will change according sa iyang interaction sa environment, right? Or sa social politics, right? So let's say my opinion would change because of the environment. That's very true. Kay the human being is a social being man dyan, diba? So that means na I have to adapt so that I could relate to them, so I could belong, because a human being is a social being, as what I have said before. So mana siya nga ang imuhang personality, the human being develops because of the interaction, and you can't live without interaction. So sige jud change. Okay. So, iyan ang use ang both nila nga theories. Sa theory of dialect ni Hegel and sa theory ni, or sa concept ni Feuerbach. Okay. So, balik ta. Yan na siya sa iyang essay sa Alienation or Alienated Labor, published on 1844 sa iyang book Economic and Philosophic Manuscripts. Yan na siya nga workers separated from work, nature, and fellow humans. Yan na siya nga labor becomes mechanical and work is equals to cog in the system. And then yan na siya nga creativity and identity is lost in the production. So, alienated man siya. So, kanang di ba, balik ka sa iyang theories, other theories, theories of dialect, and kanang katong ni Feuerbach sa iya ha, di ba ni nangayo man ni kuha man siya ang ideas sa ilaha, like iyang gi-use ilang theories ni sa theories of dialectic and if you're back sa iya ha kang Karl Marx sa iya ha kang Karl Marx kasi na siya nga the human person is a species being kasi pasabot ana, well ang pasabot ani niya kay the human being creates something. So pasabot ani niya kay the human being possesses the unique ability to produce or to objectify themselves through labor, right? So pasabot ani niya na if I make something, for example, if I make a painting, then this painting is also part of me, diba? So if this painting is also part of me, then I have the right to it. I have the creativity to it. And let's say, example, shoemaker. If muhim akong shoe, then I am a part of me is in that shoe. A part of me has created that shoe, diba? Nag-create mo kong shoe. So a part of me has created that shoe. That means there is a part of me that is uniquely in that shoe, but it's not in another shoe that is made by others. Okay? Kanang unique ng shoe because there's a part of me there. Okay? And then that goes for other examples as well. Kanang dressmaker ko, ang kanang dress na yung a part of me there. There's something uniquely me there. Kaya ako ga-design ana, ako ga-himo ana, ako ga-thread ana. Okay? Ako ga-stitch ana. Okay? So, mana siya. Like, there's something uniquely me there because I made it. If there were other person to make that, then nasa siya. Okay? Duha na may kabuo. But since it's my hands and my hands only, there are some things that I can do and they cannot. Okay? So, mana siya nga, naay something uniquely me uniquely me there. However, the problem is with kanang capitalism when used with an ethical aspects of economy. Ang problem ani is when it comes to capitalism. Most of the times, well, yeah, capitalism, di ba? As I've said before, capitalism is a system itself, so it won't think about my own feelings. It will think about my ability of kanang kuan, objectifying myself into that product I have made. So ang capitalism, it's only thinking about the system, it's only thinking about the business. So if masubraan siya og kanang capitalism, then most of the times ma-mass production dyan na siya. And most of the times, if ma-mass production dyan na, ma-mass produce dyan na ang usa ka product, then if ma-mass produce ang product, then kanang ang value na lagi na, for example, the value of me making a dress, since kanang di mass produce man siya na pare-pareha siya now, though you could say nga I made that, it's not really me because di mass produce man siya kay maglibog na ka na example ha, like dress, and then mass production ng mga company, and then ano dyan yung specific design, because if wala yung specific design, then ma-waste og kanang time. If waste ang time, ma-waste og money sa company. So they're going to make someone to create the design, and then they're going to get me to make the dress from that design, and then lanjud kayo nga usa ra ka buok ang maghimo sa design, and usa ra ka buok ang maghimo sa dress. So dapat daghan mi ka buok, daghan mi ang maghimo sa dress. Pwede sa daghan kayo ang maghimo sa design, but most of the times daghan ang maghimo sa dress, so that nga na sila ganansya, so that makasell sila, so that maka-profit sila sa kanang sa mga products. And then though you could say there's a part of me making that dress, dili ko maka-appreciate because kay dili naman siya, like it's not uniquely mine naman. Kay kanang, as I've said before, nanay mo sa design na kanang daghan na kayo similar, di ba? If daghan na kayo similar, daghan na kayo nag-similar sa imuha, then it's not going to be uniquely yours. Though mo lagi nga kanang imuhang hands, it's your hands itself na nahimo ato. Dili naman like 100% imo, and if dili na 100% sa imo, then you won't appreciate it as much. Yeah, especially when it comes to mass productions, right? Most of the times, it's the amount of things you do. It's the amount of things you produce in an hour. It's the amount of things you produce in a day. So dili na sila mo mind sa qualities. And if ako gahimo, and then so padaghanay din ni siya, and then dili din by quality. Ako like wala ko paki if bati ni siya, wala ko paki if if it's kanang dili siya na lang tahi. So if ingana ma-hurt jud akong ego, so dili ko maka-claim nga ako ana kay malagi nga it's rushed, it's not mine in the first place. So why would I claim it as mine, right? So mura siya sumana siya nga ang creative markers, my want to be creativity, my want to be uniqueness is reduced to that level of commodity. Commodity, we'll talk about that later, okay? So if ingana nagali, if maingana nagali matabo, then that thing nga akong dress nga akong gihimo, kay it won't dili na siya mo match sa intrinsic value, mo match na siya sa kanang market price, mo match na siya sa price niya sa kanang sa capitalism, right? Mo match na siya sa kanang the selling and the buying of the customers, diba? Kay if akong dress gihimo do para na ko nindot siya nga, nindot kani siya, unique kani siya sa kuha, and then kanang sa uban kay bati man na siya, so dili ta mo palit, so moubos jud ang price kay gamay man tingnan. We'll review about that later. So, balik pa dali, di ba kati wala siya. Okay, so di ba alienation mamanis balita alienation this is like to be the effect of age of industrialization. Na siya nga worker is separated from work, nature, and fellow humans. Wala na sila kanang trabaho, and then if wala na sila trabaho, then that means na mangita sa trabaho again. And most of the times, daghan naman kayo ang nag-industrialize sa ilahang company, then you would find it hard to achieve a job, to find work, so that you could sustain your lifestyle, right? So detached ka sa nature because you're just going to find jobs, and then dili na ka maka-enjoy sa imong time in the moment, right? And then fellow human side, kay as I've said before, sige ko pangitag jobs, and then plus since age of industrialization man, since, di ba, naman yung machines, and then nandiyan na sila i-assign nga sila magbantay sa machines. And most of the times, compared sa wala pa yung machines, kaya dahil ka tao magkuyog, right? Kaya mass production man, dahil ka tao magkuyog. And then, sige kag tabi, sige kag kanang imong social circle kay kanang imuhang mga co-workers. But karon nga industrialization man, in example, ako ang job is to check the machines itself, to check if sa okay ba sila, then ma-cut down dyan na sila from 100 people, like for example, from 100 people, ma-down na sila to like, for example, 10 people per station, 10 people per machine, diba? So, dako ka siya difference from a great social life to a much lower or like kanang gamay og amount. Okay, so mura jud maka-cut off jud na siya sa fellow humans. So mo na siya nga labor becomes mechanical and worker is cog in ang system. And ato na niyo sa creativity and identity is lost in the production. As I've said before, diba, instead of me enjoying myself, enjoying that I made this dress, mechanical naman siya. So I can't really say na it's mine, right? Kaya na may lain that tabang, na may lain kanang price ng mass production nga clothing website. Shit. Kay mechanical naman siya, like kanang like kay corrupt na kaayo, diba? So that means nga wala na ko'y creative liberty to do this, to create this dress, to create these clothes, to create these shoes. So dili na kayo like mechanical na siya. Instead of halang ganahan ko maging ganahan ko ingani ang naong sa dress. Ako kay na may assign din nga kanang kanang design sa dress. Okay, magtahi ra ta. Di ba? Instead of me being enthusiastic of creating something, of being creative, then more mechanical. Like I could just listen to music, I could just listen to something, I could multitask because mechanical man siya. Okay, and then cog the system man siya because I am maybe let's say I am one of the fellow humans na nag-maintain sa system. I'm one of the kanang nag-push sa clothes so that nga kayon siya sa sa sewing machine, right? Dili na ko ang centerpiece nga naghimo sa dress, dili na ko ang centerpiece nga nag-create something. Ako ra, like isa ra ko sa cog sa system, di ba? Daghan kay cog, daghan kay og kanang something na naghimo sa kaning product and I'm just a little. Pwede ako mailistan, right? If pwede ako mailistan, then what's the point of it claiming to be mine? What's the point of claiming that product that I made that, right? Kaya pwede ako mailistan. So, and then creativity and identity is lost in production, di ba? Nagbalik-balik na, so we'll just skip that. So, nasa the book na, for example, na a worker tasked with checking computer chips before they are installed in cars or smartphones may last a decade before doing this routine. But at the end of the day, he or she knows that this is his or her job does not speak at all of who he or she is. Diba? Though, no matter how many years, how many decades you've worked in that job, dili kayo kakaingon nga, I am proud of my job because I made that. Okay? So, example, oh, I'm proud of that. Ay, kanang makita ko nga, kananayga runway nakakita ko sa dress. Dili mo kaingon nga, oh, I'm proud of that. I made that because instead of saying that, you're going to say, mo man ni ang kuan o design sa ang kuan. Okay, sa kanang kuan sa trabaho sa. Ikabati ano ba? I'm not proud of it because I'm not sure if it's mine because mass production, right? And I'm simply a cog in the system, right? So dili jud ako ang original. I'm not one of the people who made. I am one of the people, but I'm not kanang the core person that made that. I'm not the one, or I'm not the centerpiece who made that. Okay, so dili kay ko ka-claim that product is mine. And then inside a factory, a worker hardly feels his or her humanity. Kay mechanical man siya. So it's hard to feel human when everything is mechanical, right? When everything is automatic, right? It's hard to live in the moment when everything is already set for you. Is already kanang nanakay kanang directions, nanakay kanang things that you would follow, right? It's hard to live in the moment when it's like that. So labor, the kind of introduced by capitalism, has deprived workers, right? na-deprive ang workers from a lot of things. Sa ilang work, sa ilang creativity and identity. So, maka-deprive siya. Okay, labor. Labor itself. And then, especially sa industrialization, na most magamay ang labor, yeah, when you think about it, if ang industrialization, kay it's supposed to be a good thing because magamay na ang labor and then makafocus na ta sa atong future selves, basta makafocus na ta sa atong moment. But, if we don't have the enough funds, if we don't have the enough money, then we're not gonna focus in the moment. We're only gonna focus on the work. So, mabalik-balik ang cycle. And then, kind of one wishes that labor becomes genuinely liberative. So one wishes that the labor becomes genuinely liberative, genuinely fun, genuinely creative, diba? Genuinely fun. So that it's possible for that worker, in the words of Marx, okay, and I quote, to become accomplished in any branch he wishes, and thus make it possible to do one thing today and another tomorrow, to hunt in the morning, fish in the afternoon, rear cattle in the evening, criticize after dinner just as I have a mind, without ever becoming hunter, fisherman, herdsman, or critic. End of quote. Diba? Ang iyang giingon kay the desire to be living in the moment, the desire to be proud of what's yours, the desire to be proud of what you have made or what you have achieved, diba? Na makakuan siya, makahunt siya, makafish siya, makakuan siya, makaherd siya, and makacritic siya sa kanang, for example, works. For example, kanang hunters, diba? Sa una, kay kanang it's their skills, it's their traps, it's the kanang archery, diba? Basta it's their hunting skills na magkuan sila. So it would make sense na ang mga tribesmen kay proud silang, ay natay pagkaon na nun, ay natay kanang meat karon, makaon karon. But if imo nang tandangon, di like kanang imo muna siya imong i-industrialize, imo siya i-part of the kuan, imo siya i-part of the capitalism, imo siya i-part of the economy, then I bought this meat with my money. Though you could say you're proud of yourself because you gained that money, dili ka proud because you hunted that so that makakaon ka na, right? So mana siya. That's all. So balik ta si kanang contractualization. Mana siya nag-contract siya for the workers, and then nasa si Karl Marx ang himuan nga alienation or alienated labor yung post pag yung gipublished pag 1844 sa iyang book sa Economic and Philosophic Manuscripts, and then nasa Age of Industrialization. So Age of Industrialization is kapunang siyang machines, right? Ilang mechanize works or labors, and then wala siyang alienated labor, money siya ang effects sa Age of Industrialization, or money siya ang effects sa industrialization na maka-strip off siya sa humanities, maka-strip off siya sa creativities sa human being, maka-strip off sila sa identities, and it would force these human beings to not be proud of what they did. It would force these human beings so that they wouldn't live in the moment, even though they're supposed to live in the moment. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I am Fiona de Samprado, and my part is education and consumerism. So let's start with this question. What do most students think education is for today? Many of us see education as a passport to a high-paying job. We study hard not because we want to learn more, but because we want to earn more after college. Now, why is that happening? Schools today are being shaped by corporate demands. That means that what we learn is focused more on skills because that's what the company needs, and not on learning that helps us grow as full human beings. If you look at it, students now prioritize earning more over learning more. We are taught that success means having a big salary, not necessarily being a good or wise person. This makes us question, is progress really about salary or about character? Is it about profit or about humanity. Because when we think about it, education should help us become better people and not just workers for our company. Okay, now let's move on to the key takeaways. So, one important thing here is ENDO, symptom of capitalist labor exploitation. This means end of contract jobs. It's a sign of capitalist labor exploitation where workers are treated like tools instead of humans. So another point here is alienation or alienation. Alienation and commodification reduce human dignity. Okay, so these two reduce human dignity because they make people feel like objects that can be bought or sold. Today, society often values profit over people. Many work so hard not to grow as individuals but just to survive or get paid. That's why we need to rethink work, education, and progress. Instead of focusing only on money, we should focus on human development, learning how to live meaningfully, care for others, and become better persons. So that's it for my part.
Imagine living in a world when you are bullied. Scary, right? Alright, so my name is Lesnas Harliluxi, BSN 1A, and I will be discussing the digital ethics and cyberbullying. So cyberbullying overview. Technology-dependent dysfunctional interaction. Social media connects people but can humiliate or harm. So it means cyberbullying happens when someone uses technology like phone, tablet, or computer to hurt or embarrass another person. It usually happens on social media, chat apps like Messenger, Telegram, Twitter, TikTok, and etc. or online games like ML or Mobile Legends or the Roblox. Imagine this. Instead of saying mean things face to face, someone sends hurtful messages, posts embarrassing pictures, or spreads lies online. That's cyberbullying. Even though the internet helps people connect and make friends, it can also be used to harm others. Cyberbullying in the Philippines. 2016 survey, Stairway Foundation Incorporated, that 80% of Filipino teens ages 13 to 16 experience cyberbullying. 60% of children ages 7 to 12 experience cyberbullying. Sample 1,268 children plus 1,143 teens experience this. So sad. And the areas that they have sampled is the NCR or the National Capital Region, Cavite, Zamboanga Sibugay, Payawan, Bacolod, even here in Cebu and Batangas. That's a lot of young people, and sadly being bullied online can make someone feel ashamed, sad, depressed, and the worst cases, some even think about hurting themselves. So, forms of cyberbullying or types of cyberbullying. There are many ways cyberbullying can happen. Here are 5 main types you should know. The first is the harassment. Harassment, repeated malicious threatening messages. So this means sending mean or threatening messages again and again, repeated from the word itself, repeated. Example, someone keeps messaging another person saying bad words or threats. 2 is the flaming, heated, hostile exchanges, emails, texts, or messages. It means this when people have angry fights online, like arguing through comments, texts, or posts. Example, 2 people shouting at each other through messages and calling each other's names. The third, exclusion, ejected from group or targeted with insults. So this means leaving someone out of purpose and then making fun of them. Example, a group chat remove a person and then talks badly about them after kicking them out. And the fourth is outing. Not outing na maligog dagat, manglaag. Outing means leaking private info, photos, or videos. This means when someone shares another person's secret or private photos, videos without consent or permission to a person. So, example ani kay ang mga magtiayon or magbuwag na magtiayon niya i-blackmail, posting someone's private photo or chat for everyone to see. And the last is the masquerading. So, masquerading is fake identity to bully or common versus public figure. So this means pretending to be someone else online just to hurt or embarrass others. Example, making fake account or dump account to post mean things about classmate or a celebrity. So the big lesson or the moral lesson of the cyberbullying overview and the forms of cyberbullying is cyberbullying might happen online, but it can deeply hurt in real life. That's why we should always think before we post, comment, or share something. Be kind, respectful, and responsible when using the internet. If you see someone being bullied online, don't join in. Help them or tell an adult or teacher you trust. According to Emma Mary Tiglao, Miss Grand Philippines Grand Winner, let be the grandest voice to peace. Kapung Kap.
Good day everyone, I'm Cassandra Dominic Escabahog and I will be reporting to you today the other cyber malpractices most common in the digital world. So first is we have the intellectual property theft. So from its word theft, it is basically owning something you don't really own. So first, this is the plagiarism or the false authorship. So I believe this is most common in researches, as we all know. As we do our research or as we search for information online, we have to always put our sources to the reference list to make sure we acknowledge the original authors of those informations. The next one is the copyright infringement. So this is the unauthorized use without permission. So for example, we have YouTube. If you do become a YouTuber, you have to be sensitive with the audios that you use because some of these songs or audios will result to your video being taken down if you use it without permission. So usually you get this permission from the artists themselves. So yeah. So the next is piracy or the illegal copying and distribution. So this is usually for music and movies. So I believe we all have heard about pirated movies. So this is from illegal websites that produce the exact movies without legal authorization. So that is what piracy means. And then we also have a ripping. So this is removing protections to share paid contents. And then next is we also have the digital predation. So this is the exploitation for money or sexual favors. So this, I believe it's more common on like minors on social media that are not yet responsible or that are not yet educated with how they use their social media, and a lot of pedophiles or just people that use social media to exploit kids for sexual or money purposes. So that is what digital predation is. And then we also have the phishing, or the tricking users to reveal confidential infos. So have you guys heard about like scamming through websites, especially online shopping websites? So this would make users to put their info like card billing information, and then they just take those informations and use it for themselves. So that is the example of phishing. And then lastly is the misinformation or the fake news. So this is spreading lies via sites or videos. So I believe this is the most common among all of these, because social media is such a free world, a free space for people to post. And for example, this recent earthquake that happened, there are a lot of fake news going around, resulting to more worries and traumas to a lot of people, spreading informations like there are earthquakes happening on this place or people dying on this place, but there's just none. They're spreading fake news. So these are the malpractices that we usually encounter on the digital world. And that's it. Thank you for listening and enjoy your day.
Good afternoon to each and everyone. I am Dexy Noliner Holio, and today I will be tackling the legal interventions in the digital age. So, technology is part of our daily lives, right? We use it to communicate, study, and even do businesses. But along with its benefit, there are also dangers like cybercrimes, fraud, and even online bullyings. To solve these issues, the government created laws to protect us and promote safe and responsible use of internet. So with no further ado, let's start. So let's start with the first law, Electronic Commerce Act of 2000. It is the first Philippine law that legally recognized online transactions, electronic documents, and digital signatures. It promotes trust and safety in online business, e-commerce, and data exchanges. It encourages people and companies to use technology for communication, contracts, and trading. It serves as the foundation for later laws like the Cybercrime Prevention Act of 2012. So, this law was first step toward recognizing the legal use of technology in the Philippines. It made electronic documents, emails, and digital signatures legally valid, just like paper documents. So this law, encourage people and businesses to trade, communicate, and sign contracts online and safely this time. It also helped build trust in using technology for businesses and government transactions. In short, it laid the foundation for the digital economy and paved the way for future laws that protect online users. So second, we have here the Cybercrime Prevention Act of 2012. So it expands into Electronic Commerce Act to address committed online, punishes offenses like hacking, kanang i-hack ang imuhang account, ilisan nila passwords, and identity theft where imuhang kanang identity sa FB, for example, imong name kay ilang kawaton, imong pictures, and cyber fraud, cyber sex, and even child pornography. It aims to protect online users and ensure that cyberspace is used responsibly. So for this one, this law focuses on punishing crimes done through the internet or computers, such as hacking, identity theft, cyber fraud, and online pornography. So this law strengthens the earlier Electronic Commerce Act by adding specific punishments for illegal online acts. So the goal of this law is to ensure that cyberspace remain a safe space for everyone and that criminals cannot hide behind their screens. And lastly, the Anti-Cyberbullying Act of 2015. And And lastly, the Anti-Cyberbullying Act of 2015. So, it targets online harassment and bullying using the internet or gadgets. Includes sending hurtful or threatening messages, posting embarrassing content, or pretending to be someone else online. Promotes a culture of respect, empathy, and kindness online. So for this law addresses acts of cruelty or harassments online that cause emotional and psychological harm. So pwede nimo ni gamiton pang kaso sa person nga nagsigig pang kuan nimo sa online and then naapektaran na jud ka emotionally and psychologically. So, example ana kanang including sending insulting messages, posting embarrassing photos or videos of you, pretending to be someone else or pretending to be you, or spreading false information about you or other person. So, it reminds us that we say and do online has real effects on people's lives. So, the law helps protect victims and promotes respect and empathy in cyberspace. So why are these laws important, Di? Well, these laws shows how important it is to create order and protection in the digital world. They remind us that the internet is not a free-for-all place. It's still part of the society where laws, ethics, and respect apply. The government plays a big role in protecting citizens from cybercrimes, but we, as users, also have responsibility to act ethically and responsibly. In summary, the Electronic Commerce Act opened the door to online businesses and communications. The Cybercrime Prevention Act protected people from cyber offenses. And the Anti-Cyberbullying Act promotes kindness and safety online. These laws work together to create a safer, more ethical digital environment, but beyond laws, our own behavior matters most. We must always think before we click. Think before we click, post, and even share informations, because our actions online have a real-world impact. So ladies and gentlemen, we have here the key points. So digital space, human interactions, not a neutral domain. Ethics opposes abuse of technology. Cyberbullying, rampant cyber offense with serious impacts. Laws crucial for protecting digital public space. Cyber laws needed since online world, public domain of human persons. So thank you so much guys for listening and for your cooperation in our report. So please keep all those laws in your mind so that we will have our safe and healthy online or digital environment. That's all for our group, and thank you so much and God bless you. Again, I am Dexy, the last reporter. Bye!